again. He did it again. He waited till I was like, "Hey, what's our running order? What way are we going to play tonight? What way are we going to do the start?" What's he do? He hits go. We're back, people.
I'm going to hit go because there's one man and one man only that this podcast has to start with. The comeback of the century, the world's greatest centre forward, the most clinical striker that Man United's ever had, and the redemption arc of all redemption arcs. One, Harry H, not the guy from Steps, Maguire. I love that man. He's back.
So let me see if I have this straight, right? In one of these European competitions where everybody puts on their shiniest jerseys and plays against the overseas teams, United were 2 up, went 2 behind.
To 10 men.
To 10 men.
To 10 men.
And won 5-4.
Yep. First time there has been 4 or more goals scored in injury time in the European competition. First time that there's been 2 goals in the 120-minute plus of injury time in a European competition. And only the second time in Man United's history that they won 5-4. The second one was in 1914 or something crazy like that to Arsenal in Europe. So kind of night where all fucking logic left the building. Ruben Amorim was skipping like a leprechaun on the sideline. Casemiro rolled back the years and created 2 assists in 30 seconds. And Harry Maguire banged one in, header on the back post to become a legend. A legend of
Casemiro played so well, in fairness. But like that's the thing about Casemiro. He'll have like an unbelievable game and he'll could manage to like get a couple of assists in and win us a game, but then the next like 3 or 4 games he'll just be like it's like he aged 10 years. But back to Europe anyway. There's just something about Europe. It's just you don't have these kind of nights in like the Premier League or the FA Cup or it's one thing about Europe. Like I've turned off a couple of United games this year. I'm sure lots of United fans have, but one thing when it comes to Europe,
when they went
it's like don't leave the stadium, don't turn it off because literally anything could fucking happen. Like it reminds you of like when we were 3-0 down in aggregate against PSG a few years ago when we beat them 4-0 on aggregate or on the night in Old Trafford. Like I said earlier, like Spurs winning in the last minute against Ajax to go to the final against Liverpool. It's just like every single year and almost in every single knockout stage, there's always that one crazy game where it's just everyone's talking about it, and thankfully it was United this time. Or regretfully.
Thankfully, Dean, where do we even start with that game? Onana had a good game and he shipped 4 fucking goals. Like they went and got battered. Well, not battered. Fucking Wolves only had 1 shot on target, but wow, what a banger at the weekend in the Premier League. Like this United team are. I don't even know what the word is to describe them. They're awful, but then they can create even this terrible version of a Man United team. Kind of like the version of Ten Hag, I suppose. They have their moments, their nights where they make you.
Like, I've been saying it for a while now because I know there's been a bit of chatter about maybe selling Garnacho and Manu in summer to build funds, but I really think whatever about Garnacho, he has his faults, but I think Manu was so composed in like the dying minutes of the game where he ended up getting one in the 120 minute where he got his goal, where someone like Garnacho might have snatched at it or just someone else like would have let himself get bullied off the ball. But like Manu was just so composed. I think that he's such a quality player that we really can't let him go in the summer. And it was nice to see.
Question from a person who doesn't understand Europe. This was not Champions League. This was Europa League?
Yeah. Like
that, and that's the second one down. And then below that, there's the conference which has nothing to do with Vauxhall. Nothing to do with Vauxhall at all. Okay. And conference is like the 7th place team in the Premier League will get there this season, right?
7th, 8th, and 9th this season. Well, actually, Joe, even trying to figure that out right now is there could be potentially up to 10 English teams in Europe next
11.
year.
Sky Sports put up a thing last week. 11 teams could play in Europe next year.
If an English team wins the Champions League, Europa League, and the conference, and then you have obviously the FA Cup final where one of those finalists could already be qualified for Europe if they're not Palace, and then you've basically got this whole mess of Jesus. If all chips land the way they want to, Fulham could still accidentally fall arse backwards into Europa League place.
And yet somehow I know Brighton won't be there. And the one in the middle, the Europa League.
Yeah,
that's the one Villa are still in.
No, Villa are okay. So let's do the running order from the bottom. So in the conference, you've got Chelsea. Chelsea are way too good for that. That's the competition that West Ham cantered to win in last under Moisey.
With Moyes, yeah.
Yep. Then you've got the Europa League. The last 4 teams in there are United versus Atletico Bilbao in the semi. Now, Bilbao is going to be a mad game because they're hosting the final this year as well. And then over in the other side, Bodo Glimt, Norwegian team, beat Lazio on penalties, and they're going up against Ange Postecoglou's Spurs, who famously at the start of the season said, I normally win something in my second season, and he's 2 games away from being in a final. And to be honest, I expect Spurs to be in that final. Then we go up to the Champions League, where we've got Arsenal, who did dirty things to Real Madrid. You've got Inter Milan, and then the other side of the draw, you've got Barcelona, and I can't remember the
Bayern Munich or Bayer Leverkusen, is it?
It's not Munich anyway.
No, I think there's Leverkusen knocked out Munich, was it?
Could be. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, you've got madness happening all through the European games.
Yeah.
Sorry, Spurs can still win a European trophy.
Yep.
Yeah.
They
can't
win
against
James Maddison and Dominic Solanke were amazing the other night against Frankfurt, might I add. Maddison probably should have been sent off. I will say that there was a tackle that he did. He was a silly boy. He did bad things, and he should have been given the red. But they got through it, and the only reason Ange Postecoglou is still in a job is because Spurs still have a trophy on the line.
So is this like maybe part of why things haven't really been competitive this year, because there's so many English teams that are actually in a place to win European silverware rather than put all their energy into catching Liverpool?
Well, I think Chelsea would have happily been knocked out of that in the first round if it was possible. Like, I don't think they really give a shite about it, because like winning the Conference League gets you automatic spot in the Europa League, and that's not Chelsea's goal. Chelsea's goal is the Champions League. So I think that if they got knocked out early, they would have been completely okay with that.
It's still a trophy, though. That's the only thing. It's still a European night trophy.
It is, but I mean, yeah, it is. It's a good trophy for young players to be able to break through squads.
Well, like Cole Palmer, they left him out of the squad for the European night so that he was actually able to stay at home.
It's a good experience for young players, and to give them a chance to.
It worked for him in the first half of the season, but if we're going to talk about Chelsea, like they've fallen. Look, they won at the weekend. It makes me sad, but they've been awful and Cole Palmer's done nothing since Christmas. And if we want, I'm going to segue all over the place here for a second, so try keep up. Enzo Maresca, who left Leicester in the summer, who obviously got relegated this weekend because God bless them and their little cotton socks. They had the same problem under him at Leicester, where the team burnt out in the second half of the year. They struggled badly in the second half of the year. And then fans are kind of confused and bewildered as to why the Chelsea pattern has followed the exact same pattern as Leicester City last year, where they came out with the blocks flying. They ran the legs off everybody in the first half of the season, and then they sat down and went, "Oh God, we're tired." and that's what's happening over there. Nobody can keep up with Liverpool in the league apart from Arsenal, and they've managed to bottle that. Their eggs are very much in the Champions League basket now.
Yeah. I was going to ask, because like not long ago there was an article by some handsome devil on StatrCast.com. Go there now, about the run in. And I made a casual comment about how Arsenal should pick up 14 points from their last couple of games. But no, being Arsenal, they will start drawing games that they should win. And no sooner did I hit send on that than they drew with Everton. And then again with, I can't remember who, but it was someone mediocre last week. Yes, they beat Ipswich, but mostly their Premier League campaign seems to have the wheels like hurtling off. And then they're putting manners on Real Madrid. And for the record, if anyone is listening in Spain or in any English or Spanish-speaking country, I want to say this from the bottom of my heart, from now until the end of time. Fuck Real Madrid. Carry on. But Arsenal seem to be all in on the Champions League, is how I'm taking that. Like, and there isn't a massive difference in the kind of squad selections. It's not like he's got 2 different squads to play with. They just seem to be putting their energy in for the Champions League. How many games are they from winning it?
3.
3, yeah.
Okay.
Who do they have in the semis again?
Inter. I would put Inter as the favourites, but then again, I also would have put Madrid as the favourites there. It's one of those ones where Declan Rice kind of showed it. And there's nothing about this part of the conversation that brings me joy. Everybody knows my feelings on Mikel Arteta and Arsenal in general. And Declan Rice.
Before we came on air, I warned John
we had to have a word
that he gets limited profanities when describing poor Mikel Arteta, who,
I hate him.
Let's be honest, he's not having a great time. John, do you hate him? No, but go on.
I absolutely despise him. He is a Spanish Sean Dyche. But anyway, Declan Rice decided to prove to everybody that he's probably top 3 best centre midfielders active right now. Jude Bellingham, for all his press conferences, all his mouthy during the week about Real Madrid, all we do is the new famous buzzword in football is the remontada, the comeback, all over Spanish press for the week. Jude Bellingham leading that charge. And all he did during that game was stand on Bukayo Saka and cry. You had Vinicius and Mbappe both sticking their big chests out and going, I'm him! Both wanting to be the Cristiano Ronaldo without realizing one of them had to be the Benzema and do the hard shit. The amount of times those boys didn't pass to each other when they could have and probably put Arsenal under pressure. But no, their attitude is, I am him. I am the big dog. I am the guy. They all wanted to be seen to be the front and center player. And then basically Declan Rice flexed hard. Yeah. Bukayo Saka flexed and he flexed hard. And William Saliba basically proved to everybody why he's going to be Real Madrid centre back next year. And the whole that basically your spine, your base, they performed really well. And please, someone take over because I'm complimenting Arsenal and it hurts my feelings.
It's okay. I'm delighted. I'd love seeing Arsenal do well up to a point. I think the closer they get to winning something, the more hilarious their fan base get when they inevitably fuck it up.
I'm sorry, I watched an Arsenal fan TV segment the other day.
I love Arsenal fan TV.
There was one of the guys on it, I think Ty's his name or something like that, and he was like, fam, Madrid, Arsenal a bigger team than Madrid. And the rest of the audience were literally sitting there going, mate, no. Like, we all love Arsenal too. This is our job, but no. And your man was like, yeah, but have they ever won a league like unbeaten? What did they win since 1902? And it's like, nobody cares.
By the way, that's the worst London accent I've heard out of a bona fide tan in years.
Yeah, I know. See, I was born in the other part of London. So.
I see. The Fulham.
Yes, the Hammersmith, you know.
Just as a quick league update, Nottingham Forest are 1-0 up. Oh, 2-0 up. Chris Wood and Elliot Anderson. Well,
I dropped Anderson in the eliminator, and I dropped Wood over in the other place. No.
I think the ball's come back out there, Deano. I'm seeing 1-0, but we shall watch for developments as it goes. Speaking of league updates, would anyone like a league update?
Yeah, I know that's after segueing hard, but I dropped out Anderson from my eliminator team.
You did, and let's start with the eliminator. No, look, credit where it's due. Right, let's start with the fact that we have our first trophy of the year settled. John and I played in the final last week of the Cup, and John has won it. And I think, to be fair, if I'm putting any kind of analysis on it, it's just I just got outplayed. He just out-transferred me. He outpicked me. It was quite simple. In the final, he made smart transfers around. You brought in Harvey Barnes on a double game week when Gordon was injured. I can't believe that's exactly the kind of swoop I'd normally be making, but you got there first. Fair play, mate. Well done. Congratulations. It also means there will be no treble for anybody this year because that's all you're getting, boy. In the eliminator,
remember the bet, Jimmy? The little. That's Mark 1 of 3 on the arm.
I do. I'm not worried at all. Over the eliminator, it's interesting at the top. John leads me by 50 points, so it's kind of the two of us in 2 competitions so far this year. Jack coming up nicely behind the two of us, but it gets really interesting down at the bottom. Not elimination week, but right now there's 3/4 of a point between the Rodgers and the Naggins. So either Dermot or Gary is going out next. Have to say there, fair play, Jack. For the new guy to become third in an eliminator, which is a notoriously difficult competition, fair play to him. And over in the head-to-head, 6 weeks ago, after the disaster of a Cav Bowl where I ended up having to take a 0 and having to lose first place, I said with 9 weeks left, I didn't think there was enough in the tank to catch Dermot. And now I'm, not 3 points clear, no, he's drawn back level ahead against my Rostitutes, but I'm back on top of the league. So that's kind of diddly. At the top, there's 2 on 75.
You're welcome, by the way. You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for that. Deano killed off killed off Dermot first last week. I swear to God, you're kryptonite for Kavanagh teams. So going top to bottom, 75 points each for myself and the Rodgers, but I have an unassailable points difference lead. I'm about to go W6 and he's potentially going to go L3. Worst run he's had all year. If Joey can catch him, which he maybe can because Dermot is hamstrung with fucking Spurs players. Third place is now level as well, 60 points each. Neither can catch either myself or Dermot, so that's very firmly a third place battle between Dave and our John, with Dave just ahead on points difference there. 6 points back, still mathematically able to get a playoff place, but will require all 9 points. Is our Deano on 54. The worry I have there, Deano, is that I'm looking at John's remaining fixtures and he's got me and he's going to lose that, but he's going to win the other 2. And I don't think your 9 points matter. I think if anything, you may catch Dave easier than John. Then in the middle,
I think I'm in. I think Dave is the one that's going to drop out there.
I think so. Yeah. I think Dave's points lately.
Forest.
Well, if I can beat him next week, that will definitely make things interesting. But I mean, the points difference is still a killer right there. So
you need a clean sweep, Dean. You need 3 solid.
You need the 9 points, mate. Yeah, and I think you have someone tricky along the way. Is it Dermot possibly before it all goes out? Because I know me and John are playing again in 36. But yeah, it's going to be tight. Deano, you're going to need 3 from 3. There's no way around it really. And then in the middle, it's all rather settled. Craggy Naggins on 45 cannot reach the playoffs this year. Spit on that wang 42 cannot reach the playoffs this year. Draft Punk 42 cannot reach the playoffs this year, and none of them, as it stands right now, can be caught by Joey, who is about to, unless he can beat Dermot. And there's only 15 points in it and 3 games to go. Unless he can beat Dermot, he will be straight through to the Harrison with Kim sitting on 12 points, a.k.a. sitting on her arse, blowing bubbles, while it's gone on so long now that we've stopped stealing her players. Because what happens in this league is once you're down and out, it's just like, yeah, take my players, work away, whatever transfer you want. The bones of Kim's squad have been picked clean. There's nothing left but awful blood and a bad taste in the mouth.
She's Southampton.
She's Southampton, yeah, and Joey is about to be Leicester.
The worst fantasy football year of all time. She is Southampton. She could potentially beat Derby. Actually, Southampton drew level with them at the weekend in terms of the worst team. So Southampton only need 1 more point from the remaining fixtures. Statistically, not be the worst team in Premier League history. And I really hope they don't.
But that's the table, and I'll just round it out with one final statistic. Because of the 15-point gap between second and third, it is now guaranteed that myself and my brother will be in differing semi-finals. And I tell you, this is all heading towards the Cav Bowl final that is our fucking birthright. It's never happened. It's going to happen this year. This is the final year of our prototype league, because obviously next season we will be launching Statter for all of you to enjoy. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be on your little fiddly phones. I won't have to do all of the stuff like a monkey on a wheel in the background all day during Saturdays when football is on. But for now, this is the last year of our prototype league, and it ends with a Cav Bowl final victory for me.
It doesn't, because I'll do what I do every year, and I'll be there to shit in your cornflakes, ruin your day, ruin your last weekend of May, and then rub my belly over some hearty points, probably somewhere like Flannery's in the city centre, and just do a little jig while eating a pizza, as we do most years.
I think there's a possibility that we might, and we haven't talked about this in great depth, but we may have to live stream the last day of the season from the pub. If it's me and John in the final, I think we might have to do that just so people can see how this all actually works in real life. I'm also going to have to edit on the fly. But it could be a runner, so stay tuned. It'll be exciting either way, because at least at this point, I would say at least 2 of your podcast hosts will be in the final of the head-to-head this year. Because out of the 5 of us who come on camera, 4 are still in with a shot, and
Gary exists.
3 are going to the playoffs, and Gary exists. There in the middle, he's staying put. But the other thing that's going to happen this week, obviously, is if Joey does lose, he becomes the second team to take the drop, which is a segue into a second team being relegated from the Premier League this year. See what I did there, John?
I do. That was a lovely little segue. So we're going to talk about Ruud van Nistelrooy's Leicester team.
Yeah.
I mean, is it a case that So what? I think they haven't scored a goal now at home in 4 months. I think it is 9 games. Yeah, about 4 months. I mean, obviously they're getting relegated and they're not a very good team. But is it maybe also a case that Ruben Nistelrooy just isn't a very good manager? If you're one of the best goal scorers in history and you can't get your strikers to score,
you mean the 40-year-old Jamie Vardy and Patson Daka still somehow is there?
He's 7 months younger than me. Like, okay, one of the best goal scorers in history, right? Who's still alive? Is Cruyff still alive? Cruyff's not still alive. Okay, bad example. Scalacci, he's probably still alive, bastard. Anyway, if you put him up front, he's one of the greatest goal scorers in history. He's still too fucking old to play. And Jamie Vardy is too old to play. He's got 7 goals this year.
Yeah, but it's not like it's not that only strikers can score. The rest of the team can score, and he's not getting any goals. It's not at United where the starting striker isn't scoring. The entire team isn't scoring. So surely at some point that comes down to the tactics that the manager is.
I don't even think it's tactics because they sacked the first fella because they were all so awful and couldn't score a goal. I think it's just a case in point here that if you look through the team, there's just
scores there.
Like they came up right. So again, this is one of these contexts. They came up and they had PSR problems when they came up because they already had. There's a bit of a mixed bag here. So they have 2 different claims against them, Leicester. They've won in the EFL and they've won the Premier League. So when they came up to the Premier League, straight away they had already been in breach of the PSR from their final year in the league. So they went and had to sell bodies. So they basically had to sell their best player in Keenan Dewsbury Hall, who has basically sat and made a lovely, lovely groove in a seat somewhere in Stamford Bridge this season and has basically not played football. But they sold him for a pretty penny. They had to sell 1 or 2 other players. And when you actually then look through the team, a lot of that team is still the team that got relegated 6 years ago. Like if you pull Kasper Schmeichel out of Celtic and dropped him in there, they're an aging team. They're a thin team. When they were trying to replenish that squad, they made a holy show of it. Patson Daka is still there.
So I'm just looking at the numbers here. Okay, Vardy is their top scorer statistically this year, right? Mm-hmm. After that, the 2 that would kind of jump out to me as being decent playmakers, but unfortunately sharing duties are Facundo Buonanotte and Bilal El Khanous, right? Both of them are able to create an attack. After that, it's Ndidi and Mavididi. In other words, a fine pair of Didis out front. But after that, it's dire. It's absolutely dire. Hermansen looked good at the start of the season. Then he started getting leakier than the Old Trafford roof. Fatawu was absolutely brilliant. He's the only man breaking 8 points a week. So naturally, he's got no legs. And then, like you said, John, I'm looking at names like fucking Harry Winks, Oliver Skip. Like, these fellas, Vestergaard, Pereira. What the fuck? Frankly, like
Harry Winks is actually a good footballer, but he's not. But no, Harry Winks. They signed him from Spurs, same as Oliver Skip there in the last 2 years. But they're both Spurs academy. They're not good enough. They're low end Premier League players to top Championship players. That's their level, but like they're 2 of their better players, not being supplemented by other good, decent players around.
Yeah, it's not a pretty squad, and statistically, they're absolutely gash. Like the boys are all hovering around the better half of the squad. The few we named there are kind of around 5 to 7 points a week. If you want to be competitive in a draft league and you're not getting 8+ points a week, you can carry a few 8 points a week players if it's not every week. If you're not getting a consistent 10 a week, you're not winning your league. There's nothing here fantasy football assets-wise. I drafted Vardy. Vardy was my last draft because I saw him, realized he was still alive and went, lads, he's the only person who was in our first ever league 11 years ago. I have to have him. Because by the time you're drawing number 18, the beers are in and the brain is coming out your ears. But there's nothing there. And, there hasn't been any transfer traffic, little bit of use of Hermansen and El Khanous through the year.
They're going to go down to the EFL now. And the thing is, right, they're going to go down to the EFL and they also have a financial fair play charge against them in the EFL for breaching in their last year in the Championship, a.k.a. a year ago. So they're going down there and they're basically going to have to raise funds and then also take a slap on the wrist for being ball boys. But the problem is they're going to have to raise about 50, 60 odd million in player sales this summer to comply with the PSR rules in the AFL. And when you again look at that squad, there isn't. Hermansen is probably a sign someone will look at.
Fatawu for a song while he's injured, and Mavididi, I would think, will move.
Buonanotte, and that's about it.
Is Buonanotte not a loan? I thought he was on loan from Brighton, wasn't he?
Oh, he is. No,
yeah.
Or was he one of those dodgy? Here, we'll sell you a player. We'll sell you a player deals. Either way, there's only maybe 3-4 fellas in that squad. Hermanson, I could see a Leeds picking him up now that they've been promoted. And Dean, did you see what I did there?
I see where you're going with this. Who's being promoted, John?
Leeds and Burnley. So Dermot's dirty little Leeds. And do you know what? They're going to be one of the teams that I think are going to be able to stay up next year. They've got clout. They've got the big team energy where they're going to be able to get better players than an Ipswich or a Southampton were able to get when they came up. Leeds have something. They're like a Villa, a Newcastle. They're one city.
I think the formula is probably to go the Nottingham Forest approach to transfers. If you're that kind of club, right, you're like this big northern club with a big northern fan base, a big global fan base, a history of European competition, a history of winning things. Okay, they've had a few up and down years, the last few, but for the most part, they're a top drawer team for the last 100 years. I think the Forest approach when you go shopping is the way to go, rather than buying the exact opposite of United, right? Rather than spending 100 million on a shit hot new striker, you buy a whole load of lads who have been there or thereabouts on the fringes where there's loads of potential, and then gel them the fuck together as a team, which is exactly what Nuno has done with some, let's be honest, call it what we called them 2 years ago, second tier players. There's no outstanding rock stars in there, but they've bought cleverly. And I think that, and the time it took to gel them was the difference between last year and this year. And we're all cheering from this year. I think Leeds could do the same thing because they have got big pockets. And they don't need very big pockets to take that kind of approach. Now, I could not tell you who they'd sell. I know nothing about Championship. I'm not following it at all this year.
Their keeper's muck. Mellier, he's one of those keepers.
He was handy.
No, he's a mistake waiting to happen. He's handy. He's one of those keepers. Played a lot young. He's still a young keeper. But I think he's made too many mistakes now. Like, he even nearly cost them the promotion 2 weeks ago by making 2 clangers in the same game. Really? He's one of those type of keepers where he can have a game where he pulls off 3 or 4 great saves, or he makes a mistake and then chases his mistake with a follow-up mistake. He just seemed, I could see a Leeds going for like a Hermanson going down. I could see them looking at an Aaron Ramsdale, because Aaron Ramsdale is probably the biggest shopping ticket from the relegated teams, if we're being honest. Of all the 3 teams that are going to go down, Aaron Ramsdale and Liam Delap are going to be the 2 biggest shopping carts with the most admirers and people looking for him. Aaron Ramsdale can go to Burnley, to Leeds, to Man United. Like,
I think my boy Sulemana for Southampton might have a career ahead of him, and I think Leif Davis has a career ahead of him. If we're talking about the guys going down, I don't know how quickly they get snapped up or who buys them, but they do strike me as talented.
Tyler Dibbling and Leif Davis are the 2 guys that are youth prospects. Like, I can see any team looking to buy them, but Liam Delap and Aaron Ramsdale are guaranteed sales in the summer.
Yeah, Liam Delap is in a lot of. He's on United radar anyway. He's on a few.
Aaron Ramsdale is on Fulham. Have inquired. I assume.
But Aaron Ramsdale been relegated
Chelsea
3 times.
Like, I wouldn't be looking at fucking Ramsdale. Like, I'm sorry if
has he been by far the best player in 3 very bad teams? Remember, he was Arsenal's first choice for 2 years as well.
Yeah, they sold him. And just look how well they're doing now. Like, so I mean, I wouldn't be buying them anyway, to be honest. But
what do you mean? With Ramsdale and goals and Orion goals, Arsenal have been no different. Second place.
A fair point, but they're also challenging for the Champions League. Let's be honest, they are a better team.
Quarterfinal versus we've got to a semi-final. Boo-hoo. Not a big deal.
I cannot believe we're comparing David Raya to Aaron Ramsdale. Does anyone remember?
They were for 2 years. That was the whole thing.
Do you remember Dallin Rodney and Uncle Albert? And every time he told a story about a warship, it went down. That's Aaron Ramsdale. He's not a very good sailor, but he seems to be a hell of a swimmer, career-wise.
He's a very good keeper.
Yeah,
he's all right.
By the time it was time for him to leave Arsenal in the summer, everybody else had their keepers.
Speaking about some Premier League alumni,
from that
United alumni for Leeds was the second highest top scorer this year with 12 and had the highest assists in the Championship this year.
Who's it?
Dan James?
Daniel James, yeah.
He's
really
he'll be on my drafting radar for next year. For sure.
Yeah,
he's quick. Like, he was always a quick player. Yeah, but
he's a winger.
And he's still young.
So who else do we like from Leeds and Burnley, lads? because I know nothing about these squads except what was there 2 years ago when they went down.
Burnley, I'm concerned about, to be honest with you. I don't know. Like, there's nobody standing out there for me in terms of Burnley right now. I think that's going to be more, let's see what business they do in the summer.
Do you think maybe something just occurred to me there, because the two names that always came to me for Burnley were Sander Berge, who Forest picked up in a cheap transfer of a good player on a shit team.
Sander Berge,
and does he?
Yep.
I thought he went Forest. Who am I thinking of? Maybe I'm just anyway. And the other one is that lad Goodmanson, Berg Goodmanson. Is he still there?
Goodmanson, no, I think he's gone as well.
Is he? Okay.
Like, the thing is there, right? I'm not a big fan of the Burnley thing, right? Because of they basically went down with Vincent Kompany. They've been fine in the championship. Like, they've been doing good in the championship, whatever. They're going to come up to go back down. That's.
But isn't part of the problem with the coming up now is that whoever you come up against, and I know we've covered this kind of to death, but the 17 who are going to be there at the start of next season, who were there at the end of this season, have been there for at least 4 years, rolling around in a pile of TV rights and fucking glory and jersey sales and ticket sales and all that other financial advantage that you get from being in the Premier League, while everybody else just takes their turn like bad guys in a Bruce Lee movie to walk up, get kicked in the face and fall back down. It takes a Leeds who have the money.
Here. James Trafford is one to look out for, but he's going to be a young English goalkeeper in a team that's going to get pumped every week. Like, I don't think that's exactly what you're looking for. You've got Josh Brownhill, who's a good player, but again, I think they're going to look to upgrade on someone like him coming up to the Premier League. Just there's nothing.
Jesus
really...
Christ! Like John Joe Shelby and Nathan Redmond, like these boys surely should be out to stud by now.
Aaron Ramsey,
surely.
Josh Cullen,
Aaron Ramsey,
yeah.
Josh Cullen, like, I know, Irish player. Hannibal Mejbri, he's good, but he's going to get a crap load of bookings in the Premier League because that's what he does. Like, I'm saying, if I'm looking at teams coming up, right, I'm going to look at Leeds, and I'm probably going to look at first and foremost, Dan James is a great shout to be looking at. I think they're going to upgrade on their goalkeeper. I do. Patrick Bamford is obviously going to be thereabouts. He's going to be one to keep an eye on. He just
he'll do what you would have thought Vardy would have done this year. That's who he is. He's the 10 goals a year. Draft him, put him on the bench, grab him when one of your boys gets suspended. I'm looking at you, João Pedro. That's who he is. 10 goals next year and then right back down. That's the kind of player, I think.
Again, I think they're going to upgrade in certain areas. Like, you've got Ethan Ampadu, good player. There's a fella that I love because he's basically a championship manager hero, Maximilian Wobert. I signed him for years, but he's going to be a fullback again on a team that's going to be on the back foot. He's an attacking type fullback. Brendan Aronson, decent player. I think it's going to be, you're going to look at Patrick Bamford, Dan James. You're probably going to look at Willie Nato, who's going to get sold. Brendan Aronson is probably worth a sniff around. Wober, I like, but I don't know if I'll pick him. It depends on what they do. And in goals, Melier, they're going to have to upgrade on him, otherwise they can sign their ticket back down to the championship straight away. And that's what it's going to boil down to for me.
Yeah. But you think they'll stay up next season? If you think they'll stay up, who do you think from the Premier League this season drops down? Wolves are probably going to lose Cunha this season. He'll be a big.
I think Wolves are screwed next year. They were touching cloth for most of this year. You have Cunha, Nunes, Gomez, who will all find new homes. Nouri.
Strand Larson as well. Nouri as well was another one I was thinking. Yeah.
Their team isn't that good anyway. Like, they've been very lucky this year.
They have some good individual players, like the ones you just listed there. But yeah, like as a team, although they hockey United the other night, which isn't.
There's 2 or 3 lads there that, like Cunha, they're going to sell him. Strand Larson, I think they'll keep for another year because I don't think anybody's going to be enjoying him.
Yeah.
I think Cunha, Gomez, Nunes are the 3 guarantees to go. Nouri, if anybody's willing to spend the money that they're going to want tonight. Well, as I said, Wolves have been very lucky for the last 2 years that there's been 3 worse teams in the league than them. Same at Everton. But I think they'll be okay now. Bastards. But yeah, no, I think Wolves are in the mix next year. I think Palace could be in trouble next year.
Yeah, they could end up losing as a. Mateta has kind of really gone off the boil. I think he could end up staying there, maybe.
I reckon he knows he's on the way out this summer.
He's moving. He's moving. He's got to be. Like, he's earned it.
So has Eze, though. So has Wharton. So has Gahey.
Wharton hasn't put in his time.
Mitchell.
Gahey. Can we talk about the bullet you dodged? The other thing about that cup final, just to loop back for a second, it wasn't just picking up Harvey Barnes when he scored 2. It was dropping Gahey when he got a red card and 2 own goals in the space.
Red card and an own goal in 3 games. Yeah.
Yeah. Bullet dodge there, sunshine.
And conceded 10 goals in that match week.
Yeah, that was a disaster. It was like minus 15 or something.
It's poor. And he's been class. It just seems that last week Palace completely fell under, and it's a shame. But yeah, I think they're in trouble this year.
Yeah.
Palace, but can somehow still win the FA Cup and get through to Europe.
Look, this is the thing. If Palace do manage to pull that off, they're the kind of team that will do what Leicester did a few years ago and get relegated while competing in Europe. Wigan did that a few years ago after winning the FA Cup, competed in Europe and went down. There's just Wolves will be in trouble next year. Palace, I think, could be in trouble next year.
Do you know what? I'm just looking here, actually. Wolves have won their last 5 games in a row.
Under Vitor Pereira, the last few weeks, they've been good.
Yeah.
They have nothing to play for. They know they have nothing to play for.
I mean, 5 games ago.
There's no pressure. Because Ipswich are following them down.
Yeah. So,
it's
Burnley,
Burnley are going back down.
Yeah, and then the rest is then who? Coventry, Sheffield, is it Stoke?
No matter who comes up from the promoted teams from the playoff, they're going down. If there's any of the 3 teams that has a chance of staying up, it's Leeds.
Do you want a patented Mad Professor Doc Brown prediction?
Hit me.
If this 3 up and straight back down thing continues for too long, as it has continued for the last 3 years, people are going to start saying 22 teams in hushed tones.
No.
I'm telling you.
You'll get
that can of worms will open back up again. It's only been 30 years. It was 22 for the longest time. There's nothing wrong with the 22-team league, except that I have to rebuild the spreadsheets, and it means more football for me.
Not going to happen.
I think the fixture list is too...
way too condensed.
Oh, yeah.
So it'd be a disaster. All the managers would lose the clubs in general would lose their shit. Like, I don't think it would happen.
I think there's more to it even than that. It hasn't been 3 up, 3 down. Like
it has for the last 3 years. It's been 3 up, 3 down.
Who went down last year? One of them
The
stayed
3
up.
that came up: Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield.
Oh yeah, the year before that was the year Fulham and Forest came up. No,
that's 4 years ago now. I don't know, John. How long have Fulham been in the Premier League? This really does feel like a question for you.
4th season back.
There you go. Yeah. So there's one.
Yeah, but that means they stayed in their first year. Didn't get relegated.
Yeah,
that was 2021.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm talking about the last year. Anyway, look, there is a pattern there, and there's a logical reason for it, and it kind of fucking sucks.
I don't think so.
But it is good for the other half.
No, I think this is the Pep Guardiola of football. We're going to go on a rant. Let me rant.
You get one C word.
I don't even need one. All of these teams are coming up doing this. Let's pass the ball across their box. Let's play pretty football. Let's not come up and go, do you know what we need to do first? Like, most of the teams that come up and do stay up, their first year in the league sucks. Because do you know what they do? They go, what we need is a really good goalkeeper, solid defenders. We're going to protect our box for the high heaven. We're going to play on the counter-attack. We're going to play to set pieces. We're going to play nasty football. We're going to be streetwise. We're going to do it all. Look at the teams that have gone down over the last years. Burnley went down and their manager went off to manage Bayern Munich because they were playing such pretty football on their way back down to the championship. You've had Southampton who have managed to make more mistakes in the back than any other team in the Premier League this season because they don't know the most agricultural and old school of methodologies of going, protect our goals. If there's a ball dropping in the 6-yard box, send it back from whence it fucking came. And there's your spare word. But there's a logic to this stuff of if you're going to come up, stop with this absolute nonsense of trying to play pretty football and trying to make people happy. No, do what needs to be done. Do what's necessary. People will say Jose Mourinho negativity, Antonio Conte negativity. Those guys won stuff because forwards will win the games, defense wins championships. And if you want to stay in a league, that your defense is what's going to do it. Look at the defense of the 3 teams that have gone down. They're awful.
They are, but to be fair, I think you could accuse Southampton of having played that kind of negative football all season. They haven't really gone too hard in attack, maybe because they can't. I don't know.
No, because they've been too busy trying to play possession, passy, pretty football, and have made absolute balls of it time and time again. That's why they sacked Russell Martin back a few months ago, because it was a case of, can we maybe try play some, horses for courses football here rather than let's stick to an ideology and get sent back down. Hasn't worked.
If you even look at their goal difference, like if you look at goals conceded, Southampton conceded 78, Leicester 73, Ipswich 71, and then next is West Ham with 55. So, and they haven't been scoring goals either. Like I'm actually surprised Leicester scored.
But the only one of those 3 teams who've come up and given it a go at all have been Ipswich. Like they have played. Like if you've ever watched Ipswich play, when Liam Delap's on the pitch, they play to his strength. It's like, let's hit the big man that runs channels. Let's try get a team on our transition. They're not.
They also have a goal scorer on Liam Delap, like we were talking about earlier. The other 2 teams don't really seem to at all, do they?
No, but the thing is, they've tried to play to his strengths versus the other 2 teams who've passed themselves into problems.
Look, the passing around thing at the back gives me ire because nobody did it to worse effect than Brighton the second year of De Zerbi, right? And all of this knocking around at the back and passy. And, well, the science says that if we take our time going that way, then it takes longer for the ball to come back that way. Except, no, it doesn't, because if the ball's coming back that way because you've cocked it up, now your goalie's in a one-on-one. And I absolutely agree with you about teams knowing their limits and everybody pretending to be fucking PSG and everybody pretending that they have this like world-class team and doing all of this ticky-tacky nonsense. That's great if you've got the players for it. But if you don't, I have to agree with you. This is why I've got such time for Sean Dyche.
David Moyes gone into Everton and gone, do you know what we need to do? Stability. You have had Nuno's play. The reason why Forest are doing what they do so well this season is they have not adhered to the conventions of how Premier League football is supposed to be played at the minute. They've gone, do you know what we do? We win games by not having the football. We'll let you have the football. We'll block off your paths. And when we get it, we have 2 absolute pace merchants in Langa, Gibbs White, who can go and cause you some fucking damage. And we've got a big man who will stand between the posts and stick it in the back of the net.
And we will get it off you because we have Murillo. I know it's great to see it. And I know if I can hear my brother screaming from here about how much fun it is to watch like Bielsa ball and how brilliant it was to watch attacking football all the time. I am firmly saying this as a neutral. I loved watching De Zerbi. De Zerbi football was why I support Brighton. I went, ooh, this is fun. Stuff happens. But strategically speaking, if you're one of these teams that needs to, above all else, not let in goals above anything else, like bottom half, like look at the bottom half of the table this year, right? If you had a draw in every single fucking game, right? 38 draws? 38 fucking points? You're not facing the drop this year, you're safe.
40 is the number 40 is the magic number every year for relegation, but it's been getting lower every year. Like, do you know what I mean?
Like, but that's the gap between the bottom 3 and everyone else, and I'm sure in times past there was a gap between the top 3 and everyone else. You know,
it's like Dermot said a few weeks ago. Like every game in the Premier League now is a difficult game. You know, you're not just looking at top 4, top 6 anymore. You're looking at Bournemouth next week. You're looking at Fulham next week. You're looking at freaking Brentford, even Everton in the latter second since Moisey took over. I mean, the only teams in this.
Newcastle are 4th. Yeah. They let in 4 goals this weekend. Nobody blinked. It was like, yeah, cool. Villa, tough game. You know?
Yeah.
And on form Villa again, by the way, who once again are just strength to strength the last few weeks, and fair play. You called it, Jay. You called it. You said they won the transfer window, and they sure as hell have.
Yep. Not often I'm right, but I'll take it when I am. No, but there is, like, again, as I said, this thing with the relegation teams, you're going to see a team come up. I think Leeds are going to be that team next year, that they'll come up, and Leeds have it. Like, Leeds' old history is nasty. You know, nasty football. I think they're going to try play into that element with the crowd and the history and do that Everton type thing of, you know, we don't lose at home. And I think that'll be the thing that might carry them through. if the other teams come up and try to do this, we're going to play Premier League football with non-Premier League players, then they're going to do what Southampton did and Leicester did this year and go down without a whimper. Honestly, styles make matches. And part of the reason why I loved watching football when I was younger was you'd see a team like Mourinho's Chelsea, and they're all big, 6 foot, let's run, like aggressive players who loved to get in the ball. Then you had Arsene Wenger's Arsenal, which was pass, move, you can't touch us. No matter how big your guys are, you just can't get near us, the ball's gone. Good luck. You had Sam Allardyce's Bolton, which was built on structure stability with rough edges of flair in like the JJ Okochas even now. Whereas you've had teams, that all different mix and matches of styles. You've had the long ball merchants back in the day. I heard Graham Potter use the line, "We went vertical" last week. I'm like, just call it what it is. You went long ball, but by bringing on Nicholas Fulkrug, we were able to transition our game to a more vertical format. You started humping long balls. Just call it what it is. Lean into that skid. Be what you are. Lump it up to the big man. Stick Harry Maguire up top and be fucking done with it.
West Ham, like to their credit, West Ham are doing their very, very best to keep Ipswich up at the moment. Their form of late, and it started okay, but it's been disastrous the last 8 weeks. Absolutely disastrous. Statistically good performances from some of the players, interestingly enough. So they're busy. If they didn't have Jarrett Bowen, they'd be goosed. And young Fla Ferguson isn't really there. He's not replacing the giant and get well soon Michael Antonio shaped hole at the front of West Ham. Is he back training? That's brilliant. That's good. Jeez, I thought that was a career
personal training program, stuff like that. He may make an appearance, may make like one substitute appearance by the end of the season, just as a token, because his contract is obviously up this summer, and they're talking about maybe giving him one more year, just as that he's been a good club man to them.
Yeah,
Ferguson just isn't fit.
My understanding is that Michael Antonio, I know that Antonio is very far along the Diego Costa scumbag on the pitch player, but in person he's meant to be this really nice, kind, chilled out guy. So the sooner we get him back in the pitch, the better. Some of them.
No, most of those big angry footballer dudes are like, unless you're Troy Deeney. He seems to be just an actor.
Troy Deeney has a fine career talking about things these days, as we do.
Well, he did go to prison back in the day for assault.
Yeah, that's not great.
Also, the Ballers League, if any of you have been watching that, where it's like a Mad Six-a-side kind of Masters style tournament.
I saw a bit of this.
He got sent off tonight in his debut.
Oh, Jesus.
Of course. Good lad. Thanks, Troy. There I am trying to defend you, and you're out here getting red carded from a game that happens inside a shoebox. No, but the Ballers League is fun. The bringing one on with each goal is a fun concept. It's like, do you know what it's like? It's like if you sat me down with a 6-pack. I went, Jim, you know what you do with fancy football? Do it with real football. I went,
influencers on the side, right? And commentators, pitch side interviews with managers who are like Ian Wright and Micah Richards owns a team, and you've just got like Alicia Lehman.
No corners. What'll happen is, right, if it goes out the side, you have to turn the pitch upside down. It's fun. Like, it's a lot of fun to see something different, but it's not stupid, wacky different. There's actually skill there. It's a good pace. It's well.
It's like a cross between five-side Masters. Yeah, cross between five-side Masters, futsal. Sprinkle a little bit of like influencer culture on the fringes. It's kind of interesting, and I would have been, as a traditionalist, disgusted when I first saw the concept and been like, no. But I've watched like the last 2 weeks of it and gone, okay, it's kind of fun. I can see the appeal here, and I hate myself for it.
If you want to watch it, you can catch it on Monday nights on TNT Sports. There you go.
I like how you did that little transition out. So, do you know what? I'm kind of sick of you guys for tonight. Do you want to tell people where to find us and what's going on?
StatrCast.com. We've got some lovely thinky pieces. Our Gary, who couldn't be here tonight, and we send him all the love in the world, has been very busy writing some chunky, tasty articles. He's got one there about Mo Salah. He's got one about Onana. He's got one about Newcastle. He's got one about Leicester. The man is prolific at a keyboard right now. My run-in articles were fun, but they're pretty out of date now because it's been a hot minute. So the top 10 teams is now a top 7. But there's all sorts of content over there. You can get links to this here podcast if you want to listen back to old episodes on Spotify, on YouTube, on There's clips on TikTok. There's clips on Instagram. There's the occasional little bit of trolling over in the sewer that used to be called Twitter. And, of course, some lovely, cuddly rainbow love over on Blue Sky. You can catch us anywhere. So do head to the site, subscribe
We're on
to the waiting
Twitch now
list.
too.
We're on Twitch now too. Good evening, Twitch viewers. Forgot about that. That's fun. We're everywhere. But most of all, we love football. We love the numbers, and we love ripping each other to shreds. So join the waiting list, and let us keep you informed. And we'll be ready for another great season starting soon.
And also, if anybody'd like to get in touch, what we're looking at doing right now, Jimmy, I'm just going to do this at the soft move. We're potentially looking at getting some little beer mats in. So if you want your pub to get Statter branded beer mats, get in touch and we'll send you a pack when they come in the stock.
And by send, we mean we will come to your pub and deliver them and ensure your beer is of the highest standards and worthy of our beer mats. The testing may take a long time.
I'm in.
We'll be there. We'll be out and about.
We'll be there. That's it. We're done.
All right.
See y'all in a while, boys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Next week, we'll hopefully may have Gary. We may even have a Dermot. We're going to try to get a full house in between now and the end of the season. And even when the summer comes, we'll still be here talking transfers, trades, shenanigans, and draft order while I will be swimming in a sea of a treble.